All right, this is Stoner by John Williams, published in 1965. Has nothing to do with getting stoned. It's about a man named William Stoner. He was born in 1891 on a small farm in Missouri. And he just grows up like that, like working the farm. And it's a story about a pretty ordinary guy. And not he's not a hero. He's not a villain. He's not a bad guy. He's not a good guy. He's just a man with all of his flaws and his struggles. So a pretty kind of a normal life, right? He goes up on a farm, but he goes and his parents send him to college at the University of Missouri, and they send him to study agricultural science. When he's in college, he discovers he has a passion for English literature, and he pursues that. He eventually becomes a professor at that college. He never really goes anywhere. And he gets married. He gets married kind of like when you're young, you fall in love with the idea of a person and the image and the vision that you have of what you expect. And it's not necessarily what it actually is. That's what happens to Will Stoner. He gets married, and um, I think his wife kind of marries under her class, so she expects a lot more than Stoner can give her. He's just a regular, he's just a farm boy that grew up to be a professor. So they have a terrible marriage, and they have a child. And for the first couple of years, the wife is very distant, and she has like this imaginary illness. But at a certain point, the wife decides to kind of like take control of the child, and she plays this game to alienate the child from the father. But he has workplace politics. You know, he has conflicts with another professor, and he has an affair. But the point of the story is, I think you could take a couple of ideas from it. It's not explicit in its metaphor. It's not a, how do you say? It's not a prov. It's not, and it's no obvious metaphors or themes. It's not a parable. It's a story of a man's life, and it deals with love. It deals with work. It goes right up into his death. You know, um, and his kind of stoicism, his stoic dedication to his work and what he does. He loves literature, and he loves teaching. And at first he's awkward and he's self-conscious about it, about his classroom manner. He develops into a great teacher, you know, but a really good teacher. Anyways, but it's not very long. It's 260. It's 278 pages. 280 pages. The language is very clear, and it's very direct, and it's very accessible. There's not a lot of highfalutin vocabulary words. There's not a lot of long rambling sentences. I don't think there's any semicolons. You know what I mean? Um, it's very direct and very accessible, and in that way, it's very interesting. It's a story about a man's life. Um, this book gets raving reviews. I guess it didn't, when it first came out, it sold like, you know, maybe a few thousand copies or something. Like it wasn't like a smash hit but it is a great piece of literature. Um, I mean, I'm not gonna say it changed my life or it made me cry. I did hate the wife. Like I'm like, oh man, I hate this bitch. She was terrible. She was horrible. And the other professor, oh man, he was a bastard. He was a real piece of work. But you know, so it was really good. I don't know what to say. It was really good. Um, it's just straight literary fiction. There's no flying saucers or unicorns or you know, it's not sci-fi. It's not any fantasy. There's nothing like that. It's it's just literary fiction. And like I said, I think it's his parents are farmers and his dad works the land to the day he dies. And pretty much the same with William Stoner. He works right up into the point where he dies of colon cancer. Like it just so happens that he's able to retire like a few weeks before it finally takes him. And it's it's great. I think it was great. I'd highly recommend it. For one, just because it's so accessible. Like um I didn't have to bust out the dictionary on this one, but it was still a really great work. And I'm looking forward to reading his other stuff. He has one, I think it's Augustus. It's about it's set in ancient Rome. And then Butcher's Crossing was a movie that came out like last year, and it's like a western. So, he didn't write a lot of books. He didn't write a lot, but this was impressive. It can make like a very kind of plain story very engaging, and I think that was pretty impressive. Stoner by John Williams. This is from the New York Review Books. New York Review Books, and based on this, I am getting a subscription to New York Review Books because I'm interested in finding more things like this, kind of like forgotten classics and things like that. Just things that I wouldn't have. I saw this on reviews of other YouTube channels. I wouldn't have just probably stumbled upon this on my own, So I'm looking forward to seeing what the New York Review book sends me in 4 to 6 weeks.